Hey guys, welcome back to a new video of Philipp's Android News, PAN, in which I will give you the Android news, Android developer news for January in this case. So I will show you what changed in January that affects us Android developers, basically the major changes. Of course, there are many more changes, but I will really summarize the most important ones here and show you what changed for you, what you now need to consider as an Android developer out there. And I would suggest we actually just jump right into Android Studio, because the first news is very exciting, and that is a new Android Studio version is out, and that is Android Studio Bumblebee. I'm sure many of you have already updated to that version. It contains a lot of new changes, a lot of new cool changes, and I will now go through the main ones. There are some more that I won't cover here that I don't consider that important. However, I will link a video down below from the official Android developer channel where they also go through these changes. But I will show you them here in Android Studio, how you can actually make use of these and what actually changed. So you can already see that I have a preview composable here, and that's the first change. We now have interactive compose preview in Android Studio. What does that mean? Well, we can use the preview here, which is now interactive, so we can interact with the preview. Let's see how this works. You can see I just have a very simple column here with a text state, and when we click on this button, we just add a hashtag to this text state, so we just change the text, which will then show here in this text composable. Nothing special, just for demonstration. I ran out the preview here on the right, and if we now click on this new button here, Start Interactive Mode, then you can see it's shortly loading, and we're now in interactive mode. That means we can actually interact with buttons, and it's pretty much as running this in an emulator. So now you can basically test portions of your code, so simple single composables, and see how they behave in addition with all the states that are involved, which is a pretty cool change, I think. And the next change is something for the XML developers among you, which is basically that we now have the option to see all of our layout variations for a single layout on one place. So if you have a layout variation for small phones, large phones, 7-inch tablets, 10-inch tablets, then you now have a view where you see all these compared. So in a single tab, basically, of Android Studio, which is pretty cool. Let's see how this looks like. I have a test layout here, which I created for this. And here you can see I have a small phone screen. I have a large phone screen, and you just already saw that. I have a 7-inch tablet screen. So these basically only differ in terms of the small screen width when these are shown. And if you now want to see how these different layouts would look like on different screens, then we now have a new tab here on the right side, which is called Layout Validation. If we click on that, then we basically see this here. So we have a large phone. Then if we scroll down, we have a 7-inch tablet, and we see how the 7-inch tablet looks like in landscape mode. We even have a desktop version. Wondering where the small phone is. Looks like we need a separate variation for that, but you now have the single tab where you see all of your variations for a single layout, which is pretty cool. So if you have different layouts for different screens, you can now see them all on a single place here in this layout validation tab. The next big change here for Android Studio Bumblebee is actually that we now have integrated support for Wi-Fi debugging. What does that mean? Well, you don't need to plug your phone into your laptop or PC using a cable anymore, because you can now do that using Wi-Fi. So you can see I am already connected to that phone, because I need that to I need to show you that with that phone on my in visor here. However, you see when you click on these emulators, there's a new option, pair devices using Wi-Fi. You want to click that, and then you get a barcode or a QR code here. And if you have that QR code, you can go to your phone, basically open your phone settings, and you want to search for wireless debugging, and then click on that. That will open your developer options, so make sure you already have these enabled in your device. And if we then click on that, then you can see there is a button, pair device with QR code, this one here. If we click that, then you can see we can now scan that QR code, which, I won't do now because I already did that. You can see I have paired devices. Here's my MacBook. And by simply doing that, your phone will connect to Android Studio from now on without actually needing a cable. So just make sure you're in the same Wi-Fi, of course. That worked already before by simply using ADB. So in the terminal, you could simply say, here, you can see I already did that quite sometimes today, ADB connect and then connect to your IP address. But before that, you actually needed to connect it with a cable, set up a TCP server, and then you could connect that. And if you relaunch the device, you needed to do that whole process with the cable again. However, sadly, this new way of doing it does not work too reliably for me. So it does work if you wait a little bit after launching Android Studio, but it always takes a little bit of time. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but yeah, I found this way with ADB actually to be a little bit quicker to just manually do it, because you're immediately connected, and you can even make this some kind of alias for your console commands or whatever, so it's even quicker. You don't need to type your IP address every time. So yeah, I don't know if I will stick to the new approach, even though it's a cool idea, and it's definitely something that would be necessary, that it just automatically quickly connects to your device, no matter if you actually plugged in with your cable before or not, if you relaunch the device. But yeah, didn't work too reliable for me, sadly. And also something I realized is that this wireless debugging option here in the Android settings actually very often turned off. I didn't change this, but very often it was just toggled off, and I would always need to go back in my Android options, toggle this back on, wait for the device to connect, and yeah, overall this is not really time saving here, sadly. So yeah, still an important change here, and I'm sure a lot of you will use this. Then the next thing that changed with Android Studio Bumblebee is that we now have a separate Gradle plugin assistant, basically, so as a separate window tab here. If we go to window, what was it here? Tools, AGP Upgrade Assistant, so Android Gradle Plugin Upgrade Assistant. If we open that, and you can see new window pops up. This is new with Android Studio Bumblebee, and here you can basically then select the Gradle version you want to migrate to. I don't know why it actually only shows this one for me. I'm sure I'm just missing some Gradle files here or so, or Gradle options. But yeah, this is just intended to be an easy way to migrate to different Gradle versions, which is also a pretty cool change. And there are also some more minor profiler changes here. So for the profiler, when you actually want to see how your app behaves, how much memory it uses, the network usage, battery usage, all that stuff, there are some minor changes. I won't go through these here in detail. They show a little bit about that in the Android developer video, which I will link down below. But yeah, I didn't consider these too important here, or that they affect a lot of developers at least. So that's why I just wanted to mention this. And there are also some more very minor changes that they talk about. So that's it for the biggest news this month. So Android Studio Bumblebee is out. However, there are two more news I actually want to share with you. And that is, on the one hand, that ConstraintLayout Compose, the dependency for that, is now stable, which also means they actually introduced support for MotionLayout in Compose, which is actually new to me. They marked that as experimental, so it's still an API you need to opt in, but that means MotionLayout will come for Jetpack Compose, which is pretty cool, so you can make very complex layout animations with that. And also for that, I will link down something below where you can just find more about that, which dependencies you need to include and all that stuff, so you can just try that out at home. And as a last news here, that is actually something that I also talked about in the last Android news, which is related to Jetpack Glance. So Jetpack Glance, for those who missed it, is a new framework we can use to build widgets, so these home screen widgets, using Jetpack Compose, which was pretty cool. They announced that in December, so in the last month. And now this library got an update, which also allows support to make these widgets for Wear OS, so for smartwatches basically. So it just shows they have some bigger plans with this Jetpack Glance framework, and it's definitely worth taking a look at. If you actually want to know the previous Android news and if you just missed what changed in that month, then you can simply click here And I'll then see you back in the next month, so don't miss these. It will always come on the first Wednesday of the month, so see you in March.